did Lamar Jackson help his playoff reputation?
God.
Joel, the answer is no. The only way to have fixed his playoff
It
reputation
didn't hurt it or help it.
No, the only way for it to have been helped was if he won. The main issue is that when Lamar goes up against the top-notch teams in the playoffs, he's fallen short. He's lost twice to the Bills. He has lost to the Chiefs. He lost to the Titans, which, let's be honest, that was inexcusable regardless.
Well, that was Derrick Henry.
That was a minute ago, but you were MVP unanimously.
I'll
They
be
won
honest,
14 games.
The great
the
Roman
Titans
years,
controlled
I
that
don't
game,
give a
though,
fuck
on the
about.
ground, man.
Joel, don't do that.
Because we're talking about a different quarterback.
All right.
We're talking about...
Let's
He
do
was
it.
unanimous MVP.
It's all right. No, let's do it. Todd Monken has been given unbelievable praise for helping aid. I'm using those two words specifically. Helping aid Lamar Jackson to his most efficient passing seasons. What have they tried to prove these last two playoff runs? That Lamar Jackson is an elite passer, right? Kind of how it feels.
Well, I think it's...
I just want to finish this. Apologize.
Yeah.
Because against the Chiefs last year, they did not run the ball for whatever reason. It was mind-numbing to all of us. It was obvious that was their weakness. Why aren't you exploiting it when you're one of the best rush offenses in the league? This year, the first time you match up against the Buffalo Bills, Derrick Henry goes for over 200 yards, carries the ball over 20 times, and is the X factor as to why you not only win, but blow out Buffalo. In a rematch, you don't factor in Derrick Henry as much as you probably should have in this game. Now, I understand game script. It was 21-7 very quickly, very early on. And you had to adjust, you had to pivot. But regardless to that fact, why are we going away from what we know works to why? To aid Lamar Jackson's narrative?
The Bills were stopping the run.
They were.
In the second half, they were not.
In the third quarter,
no.
you're right.
In the
But
second
in the first half, they were shutting it down.
They were able
But
to run the
don't
ball.
stop it.
I think
you
the
don't
difference-
quit when you have Derrick.
Last year against the Chiefs, they were not running the ball. Like, they straight
they
up were
didn't.
just like,
I
we're just
agree.
going to throw the fucking ball for whatever reason. Didn't work out.
Spags doing the
This year, I feel like in the first half, they tried running the ball. Derrick Henry could not get loose. Like, they were not really able to do anything with the run. Of course, passing the ball, they had the turnover. So you could say what you want, but for the majority of the time, they were able to move the ball. There wasn't a lot of possessions where the Bills just stifled them completely, right? Whether it's the pass or the run. It was just
second half.
it was just the turnovers. Like, I think the Ravens only punted one time in that game. If I'm remembering correctly, I could go back and double check, but it wasn't like Bills were forcing them 3 and out. They weren't able to move the ball. It's just they were either scoring or turning the ball over in that first half.
You know, I think the easy answer to this is no. Lamar Jackson didn't help his playoff reputation. He didn't hurt it because it wasn't a disaster of a game, right? He didn't play terrible for all 4 quarters. He only played terrible for the first 2 quarters. He had those 2 turnovers, and he played really well in the second half. He played great, like near flawless in the second half. But you cannot ignore the 2 first half turnovers that was a 10-point swing. The fumble that he had was in field goal territory, and then the Bills scored a touchdown on that
They
turnover.
did
puts them in
score.
deep in
Was that not
Baltimore.
because of the PI? Was that?
was.
Okay, I thought so.
So when I
Must be
look at
nice.
when I look at the turnovers that Lamar Jackson had,
All the calls.
you just cannot excuse that. There have been 3
agree.
times that Lamar Jackson was favored past the wild card round in the playoffs. It was outside of the Texans game, but the 3 games that stick out: the Titans, the Chiefs, and the Bills. In all 3 of those games, Lamar Jackson was the favorite. Against the Chiefs, you had the most historic defense in NFL history. Against the Titans, they had a bye week. They were the best team in the NFL. And against the Bills, they were favorites on the road. In those games, Lamar Jackson has combined for 7 turnovers. He had 3 against the Titans. He had 2 against the Chiefs last year. He had 2 against the Bills this year. The reason why the Bills won this game is because they didn't turn the ball over. Even though Lamar Jackson might have had more yards, he also had to work larger lengths of the field
twice as hard,
because
too.
of the hole that they dug themselves
you.
in. And then you look at the stat that Lamar Jackson is 0-5 in playoff games when the opposing team scores 14 points or more. I mean, that's the standard. 14 points? Like Lamar Jackson is a multiple-time MVP.
Might be a 3-time.
I feel like I just can't help but feel like if this was Josh Allen and roles were reversed, this is the only thing we'd be fixating on.
We already do this with Lamar. What do you mean if this was Josh Allen? Lamar has gotten
What do
shit
you mean?
year
Lamar
in and year
Jackson's
out.
getting
Lamar's
nothing
been
but
defending-
excuses in the
Lamar's been
media right
defending
now.
last-
No, I would
defended
say
last
this
year.
game, Lamar has gotten more defense than I was expecting.
Right.
Way more. But we're not going to act like up until this point, Lamar has not got shit on.
Yeah, because he's deserved it. He's not played
Absolutely.
well.
No, but Josh Allen
he
has
got shit on. That's what I'm saying.
No, I think Joel's sentiment here is Josh Allen would have gotten shit on if this was a performance like Lamar's. Why is that? Because all we've seen Josh do, majority of what we've seen Josh do in the playoffs
been awesome
is
playoff
uplift
performance.
and be amazing.
What I'm saying is, I don't think that the way that we're propping up Lamar Jackson
agree
for the
with
second
this
half,
wholeheartedly.
Josh Allen would have been propped
No,
up the
he would
same
not
way.
have.
Because I remember when he lost to the Chiefs multiple times, Ron Clark went up on ESPN and said, "Smoke your stats at home. You didn't take the dub." And Josh Allen played a great game with no turnovers. But Lamar Jackson, after this game, Ron Clark is tweeting, "You did your job, number 8. This wasn't on you." Even if you believe that the game was on Mark Andrews, which I believe he had big fault in it, he's at least responsible for 50%, and Lamar is the other 50%. Like, this is not a scenario where Mark
hate it.
Andrews has all the blame and Lamar
Right, you're
Jackson has none.
I only say this where I said this on the live. I still feel the same way. Joel, I share a lot of your same sentiments. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but when it comes to the blame, this is where it gets rocky for me because I don't think Lamar played great. I don't think so. Far from. Those 2 turnovers matter. And yes, we can. I keep talking about the ticky-tack nonsense DPI. Regardless, it led to points. Whether that was PI or not, it led to points. So yes, your turnover led to points. I still look at it from a glass half full lens as well, where the turnovers matter, but you had a chance to right your wrongs with one drive, and in my opinion, he did. They didn't get the 2-point conversion. Is that on Lamar Jackson? No, it is not. Mark Andrews should have caught that ball, and Mark Andrews also should not have fumbled that ball early on.
No.
But the same can be said for Lamar Jackson throwing that INT. The
his
same can be
fumble
said
is
for
huge.
Lamar fumbling. That's where I'm with you, Joel. But when it comes to blame, it's hard because one's first half, one's in a game-winning, game-losing, game-tying situation. Can you be your best? I watched Lamar Jackson be his best.
Here's the thing that I struggle with the Lamar Jackson stuff, because in order to praise a player, I think we hold him to a different standard now. Lamar Jackson, over the last 2 regular seasons, Dells was saying it all year long. He's the best quarterback in the NFL, right? He's playing better than Patrick Mahomes. He's all this, he's all that. But then when it comes to these moments in the playoffs, we don't hold him to Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes standards. We hold him to a lower standard than what his regular season numbers have been. All year long, he has not turned the ball over.
After this game, would you argue we don't do that anymore?
You still have to hold Lamar Jackson to the standard of a multiple-time MVP.
That's-
I will say
that's what I mean.
That's the standard, but the expectation. Now we go into the playoffs and we don't have those same expectations for Lamar Jackson because we just have seen it enough times that he doesn't live up to those expectations.
So you think this was the last game where we have the expectation you're going to be a superstar in a playoff game?
My expectation next year for Lamar in the
It's the-
playoffs
I
is to be a
agree.
superstar.
You have to be
'cause
a
he's
superstar.
He has to be that, but I will say, do I have belief that he can consistently?
different things.
No,
Oh, you're
I
tweaking.
don't. I don't.
It's 2 different things.
I don't.
I saw Lamar win
tweaking?
90 yards with
Yeah, he
fucking
did.
3 minutes with nose Flowers
To
with no
say-
shoddy B go right down that field and put a
cooking.
team in position to tie the
Okay.
game. If that's I don't have faith in him. I know you've never been a Lamar guy. You tried this year, which respect, whatever, do what you got to do because he had such a historic season. How could you not? But to be like, oh yeah, I just don't have faith going forward. He's not going to be that guy. That's fine.
In the
I mean,
playoffs-
he has to prove it.
The best 3 quarterbacks in the league we can agree is Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson.
By far.
Correct? Patrick Mahomes, 47 total touchdowns, 9 turnovers in the playoffs.
the GOAT. Keep
Josh
going.
Allen, 30 total touchdowns, 6 turnovers in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson, 12 total touchdowns, 11 turnovers in the playoffs. You're telling me you still have belief in Lamar to
Yes,
perform at the
because
level of
the
Josh
last-
Allen and Patrick Mahomes?
The last 4 playoff games with Todd Monken, I think it's 9 touchdowns, 4 turnovers.
Was I
The
supposed
last
to
four-
lose belief
30
in
and
Peyton
6,
Manning?
but
Like, realistically speaking, was I, as a Peyton Manning diehard fan, supposed to lose faith in Peyton Manning to not be a superstar in the playoffs? The answer is no.
The last 4 games argument for Lamar Jackson, I think, paint a prettier picture than it actually is.
because he's a different quarterback. The other numbers are from 2020 and beyond.
That's not why. Because
5 years
versus
ago.
his first playoff game this year was the Steelers game, correct?
Yes.
Last year, first playoff game was the Texans,
yes.
right? Against the Chiefs and the Bills. 4 turnovers in those 2 games.
I agree with this.
Yeah.
This is where I'm with Joel again. These are against the top-notch teams When we need Lamar Jackson to be a superstar, he has failed to be that level. Now, for the entire game, whether it's fair or not, that's not for me to decide. But when you are a multiple-time MVP, unfair expectations get put onto your shoulders. Now, shout out to Carson. I'll pull up the tweet. But it talks about Josh Allen going up against top 10 defenses and top 3 defenses. He's still the same guy. It can't be that we're going up against the Chiefs and the Bills and now we're folding. And again, Joel, I've been very adamant. I think when we needed to call his number, he was the best version of himself. Is why
I'm looking at Josh's number. Sorry to cut you off.
That's
the
fine.
last 4 games against Pittsburgh and Denver. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. He has well over 500, 600 total yards. Against the Chiefs and the Ravens, he has a combined, still got 4 touchdowns, but a passer rating under 90.
Well, that's because of the Ravens game. What did he just do in the Chiefs game?
He had, so total yards, he had about 250. He had 3 touchdowns, 1 passing, 2 rushing, an 86 passer rating, 67% completion
All
percentage.
right, I'll read the stats that I was alluding to. Shout out to Carson Breber. Give him a follow. You know him from Nerd Sesh. Legend. He put out a bunch of great stats. Josh Allen's all-time ranks in the playoffs. This is with a minimum of 8 games played. 312 total yards per game, that's first. 2.5 total touchdowns per game, that's second. 5.8 touchdown to interception ratio, that's first. 5.2 touchdown to turnover ratio, that's second. Versus top 10 scoring defenses, 302 total yards per game, 27 touchdowns, only 2 turnovers. Versus top 3 scoring defenses, 289.8 total yards per game, 11 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. And I say this with love because I don't like slandering Lamar Jackson. I told you, I'm here for the ride now. I still believe that he has a Peyton Manning level trajectory to his career. It's night and day between him and Josh Allen in the playoffs. It's night and day between him and Mahomes. I don't even include Mahomes in these conversations because we know it's different. Against the best teams, it's not wrong of us to want you to be a 9 out of 10.
And that's why Allen is the better quarterback. And I think even if in the regular season you think Lamar was better, I think Josh Allen cemented himself as he's the second best quarterback in the league.
He's got to do it next week.
But
Joel, he goes
that-
out there and does the same shit he did against the Ravens. I'm not jacking the second best quarterback. Fuck no. You cannot have back-to-back games under 200 total goddamn yards and be the second best quarterback
Allen
in the
has
league.
an entire playoff sample size that he's a better playoff player than Lamar Jackson.
So if he does what he just did against the Ravens and he wins.
And Mahomes has a couple turnovers and they win off a couple like a fumble or some shit.
But the thing is, do we anticipate Mahomes having
we
turnovers?
also have to understand that the game that Josh Allen just had against the Ravens, that is an anomaly.
No.
It almost rarely
That's
ever
we call it
happens.
his worst
it's an
playoff
ano-
performance in how long?
It's in due
It's been
part
years.
to Lamar Jackson. Second half, I think the Ravens defense played outstanding. I give them that credit. But in the first half, they really didn't have to do much because field
Short
possession was
fields.
in their favor.
Lamar fumbled. They put him inside the 25. Baltimore. I mean, it helped. I feel like the playoffs often come down to what team blinks first, what team makes the first mistake. I believe Lamar, the same way, the same sentiment I share. Lamar stepped up big time in the second half without his top 2 receivers at a point with Mark Andrews. Costing them, I think he was the biggest reason they lose because Lamar did enough to win the game, yes, but he was the one that put them in that hole. And so often in the playoffs, it's the quarterback that takes the best care of the football. That's with Allen. That's been 3 years since they had turnover in the playoffs. And so when you're having these convos, a lot of the time it's who makes the first error, and that's going to allow the other team to play off of that. When you're giving Buffalo short fields and Josh is just protecting a 1-2 score lead, he doesn't have to go out there and lead a 90-yard drive the way Lamar had to because of those 2 turnovers.
I will tell you this, though. If Mark Andrews had caught the 2-point conversion, I had full faith that Josh
was
Allen was
gonna
about
get
to
him
drive
field goal.
down the field and win the game for the Bills.
If they hit the field goal, another story based
I
off
don't know.
last year.
That Ravens defense had been clutch.
I thought Josh Allen was about to do it. Maybe, that's a hypothetical. Lamar Jackson will always be compared to Peyton Manning because Peyton Manning is the only other multiple-time MVP that is a playoff dropper. Even in his 2 Super Bowl runs, he wasn't that good. With the Broncos, he was washed.
God.
With the first time with the
One
Colts,
of the greatest
3
comebacks
touchdowns,
in AFC
7
Championship
interceptions.
history against the GOAT.
But
Stop.
Peyton Manning, before that final season with the Broncos, he had a losing record in the playoffs. The 3-0 in that run put him above 500 by 1 game.
That's all
We
you
can't
need.
forget
You just
what
need
he
one
did.
run.
Agreed. But we can't forget what he did against the Patriots. 2 touchdowns, 39 years old, barely could throw the football against the GOAT.
So Josh becomes the second best quarterback in the NFL because he beat Lamar Jackson, who you don't trust in the
Joel,
playoffs.
I thought
don't
Josh-
reach on that
I
now.
thought Josh
I'm just
Allen
asking,
has been the
because
second
he
best
hasn't beaten
quarterback in the
anybody
league.
else in the playoffs. He's just beating Lamar Jackson, who he doesn't trust. So I just want to make sure.
I think Josh Allen
it's
has
fair.
been. I think
Alright.
Josh Allen has been the second best quarterback. It's not about the head-to-head matchup. I think Josh Allen has been the second best
Joel,
quarterback. in the
why
league.
do you constantly pretend like he didn't come off the field winning with 13 seconds left? Stop letting that slip.
I mean, if
your
we
mind.
can play in hypotheticals all the world, what if
No,
Mark Andrews doesn't
Lamar
fumble?
has
What if he
no-
doesn't drop the 2-point
No,
conversion?
if he didn't drop it, then it would have been a tie game.
Let me
It's
ask
not
you
like
guys
they
a question.
win.
Okay. No, it's not. But it's a
tie.
hypothetical. It's all hypothetical.
No,
13
but
seconds
it's
is
a
13 seconds, and he
tie.
still
It's not
lost.
like he wins the game. It's a tie. What's concrete fact? With 13 seconds left, Josh Allen walked off the field with the thought, the belief, I won. His defense sold him on 2 plays. 2 plays.
13 seconds.
And then they didn't get the ball back in OT.
Let me ask you guys
sucks,
something.
But bro, you're being
I don't know what to tell you. It sucks.
being
Sucks.
crazy.
Let me ask you guys. Let me ask you guys a question.
I respect it,
It
but
sucks.
damn.
I'm not saying it
He's
sucks.
consistent,
I
man.
get
And
it.
this
Buffalo
the
Bills,
last
they went to
thing-
fucking
but-
5 Super Bowls, lost all of them. They had that. It's ass.
But is it on Josh?
I'm not saying it's not
No.
Josh.
But you're
Josh.
saying you don't trust Lamar, but the only quarterback that Josh has beat is Lamar.
It's facts.
But as if Josh hasn't played high level football
Absolutely.
against the best of our generation.
No, absolutely. Unfortunately, it came up short.
but
Let me ask you guys
it's
this
a
question.
team game in that regard.
I agree. Definitely
In
a team
that
game.
regard.
Like, for example, if it was just quarterback versus quarterback this past week, I don't know. The fans' numbers say Lamar was a better quarterback.
okay,
But
you're
it's a
moving
team
nasty,
game,
Joel.
and because of
Numbers?
it's a team game, you had Mark Andrews fumbling and dropping 2-point conversions.
He
the other
did.
team.
I'm
That's
not
like
here
a-
saying Lamar
tough.
Jackson's
That's
the only reason they
tough.
lost, though.
Let me say this. Josh Allen, in all the series that started with a pass against the Ravens, the Bills had a 100% success rate. When they decided to pass the ball, they had a 100% success rate with Josh Allen. When the start of a series, they were running the ball so well that they didn't really need to lean into it. They had an 80% success rate on the ground, but Josh Allen still had a very good EPA per play in this game. And I want to finish off this because I want to ask you guys this final question. How many quarterbacks right now currently do you trust in the playoffs more than Lamar Jackson?
Currently in the playoffs?
No, currently in the NFL.
Oh, excuse me.
Mahomes.
Mahomes.
I think Josh.
Burrow.
Matthew Stafford.
Matty, for sure.
Stafford's.
Is there one more?
I'm going to be
quarterback?
honest.
Jaden Daniels?
Yes.
Nah.
Lamar's never won.
Jaden
2
does it
consecutive
against
playoff
Philly
games.
this
All right,
upcoming
I
week.
agree. I agree with
Lamar
this.
hasn't
But
won.
TBD
Jaden
on
Daniels
Jaden.
already did something
But
Lamar never did.
Lamar's won
But
2
he won
consecutive
back-to-back
playoff
playoff
games.
games.
But you're talking about the 2 games in rose-colored lenses against the Steelers, against the Texans. It's against Tampa Bay. It's against Detroit.
Detroit was the number one
was
seed.
the one
Agree.
seed. They won 14
I'm not going to
games.
disagree, but we
hung on
understand that
45.
defense was riddled with injuries.
He hung up 45.
I'm not going to disagree. He dominated. He dominated. Well, more than I ever thought, more than anyone thought. But that defense was banged up terribly.
That's the same
Terribly.
defense
This
that's really
question
good
is-
while being up though.
It looked very good against Sam Darnold, who now, when we now have hindsight 2020, he was a fraud.
A lot of that
Jimmy
was
G.
Sam missing.
I
There
do
was dudes open.
give a
That's a
lot of
fact.
respect to Jaden Daniels for beating the number one
too.
seed.
I do too.
They won 15 games this past year, and Jaden Daniels he won consecutive playoff games, and he's playing. You can argue
Lights
the
out.
best of any quarterback currently in the NFL
I'm fine
playoffs.
with this.
This is a question for you specifically. Who do you trust more in the playoffs, Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts?
Lamar.
Jalen Hurts takes care of the football. I'm taking Jalen Hurts.
He's taking 7 sacks, the best
If
line.
Jalen Hurts,
He's taking
if
7
Jalen Hurts
sacks.
is in with the Ravens quarterback, what's the score of that game?
Say it again.
If Jalen Hurts is the Ravens quarterback, what's the score of that game?
They probably win the game.
Oh God. Jalen Hurts is doing 90 yards down the field like that.
I know
True.
for a fact that Derrick Henry's getting 20
So
attempts at
there,
least.
so there are 6 quarterbacks you trust in the playoffs more than Lamar: Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Stafford, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts.
I don't know about Jaden Daniels yet. Only for the fact of, again,
It's a conversation.
but I watched against a pretty great defense. Jalen Hurts go out there, throw for over 300, have 4 total touchdowns in a Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Lamar Jackson's never had a game that good in the postseason.
No. Jalen Hurts is. I mean, Lamar still had
Texan
more
game
good
was close.
playoff games than Hurts, in my opinion. He's had 2 or 3.
2 in the first 2 rounds of the
Listen,
postseason.
you don't got to tell me about Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl. He was out of this world, probably the best game compared to Lamar. Like, he's number one, duh. But since then,
I also unless you're telling me to like completely rule out 2022.
I'm not, no.
Okay,
You
because
definitely keep
against the Giants, they won
do
in the
shit.
first quarter.
They didn't do
won
shit.
in the first
Same
quarter.
thing against San Fran.
Against
Didn't
San
do shit.
Fran, they won in the first quarter.
I don't take anything away from him, but I'm also not giving him credit for it. You know, like
And then against the Rams, he started out guns blazing.
first drive was beautiful.
He was fantastic. Where it went downhill for the offense was the A.J. Brown drive. Offense, the pass offense was the A.J. Brown drop. And then he started to hesitate, started to second guess. He shouldn't do that. The sacks, again, I agree. I think a lot of it, whether we want to give credit or not, that Rams defensive line was star-studded. They were fantastic. It was one of the best performances I've seen on that Eagles offensive line.
Easily, yeah.
Jalen Hurts
most
also...
of the sacks were over 3.5 seconds.
But then, honestly, they played great coverage on the Eagles, too.
Yeah, no, for sure. They had a good game plan.
They were a great defense, and that's something I said coming in. This was going to be a close-ass game because this Rams defense had been playing at another level. Yes, there were some sacks where I'm going to look at Jalen, for sure. But a majority of them, Verse was right in his face. He was making his presence felt. Fisk was right in his face, making his presence felt. And then the secondary did a amazing job.
Jalen Hurts, of every quarterback in the divisional round, he was last in EPA per play. And that's behind Jared Goff, who had four turnovers.
That's where, again, EPA is so fucking wishy-washy.
Well, he took a safety and then 6 sacks.
I understand that. Jared Goff was dog shit.
Off at 3, yeah.
But the Lions were, when they didn't turn the ball over, were moving the ball.
Yeah,
Like,
but
it's pretty
why
impressive.
was that, though? It was straight up, here you go, Jameer.
That's true.
Please do everything for us.
Yeah, I mean, but it's pretty impressive to score 30 points and having 4 turnovers. You know, like,
No,
it's
but they
pretty nuts.
dominated the ground.
Yeah, not
They
against us,
dominated the ground.
Absolutely.
I'd say 4 quarterbacks. I think you got Josh Mahomes, you got Stafford, and Burrow. I think those 4 are fair.
Jalen,
If Jaden does this against Philly, hats
I'm
off.
not even saying
he goes,
Jaden.
not even win, but he goes out there and has what he's been doing. I'm fine with it because he's been so fucking good, and Philly's defense is so damn elite.
not that I'm here trying to paint a beautiful picture for Jalen Hurts, because again, I think he's been okay in these playoffs. I think he's taking care of the football. You can take sacks. I agree that's not the greatest, but you're not at least giving the opposing team the ball back. In 2 games, he's thrown for around, 250? Something around that for 250 yards. He has over 100 rushing combined in the first 2 games. So over 360 yards total, has 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. That's what he's needed to do.
He's
He's
game
had to
managing.
take care of the ball.
He's game
You
managing.
don't need to do more. That's
Didn't
why
he fumble against the Rams, though?
they got it back.
Okay. Didn't he almost throw an interception, too? When it was down the sideline, when corner was chasing A.J. Brown. He left it inside, and the corner had his hands on it. He just dropped the ball.
I think so, maybe.
I don't know if you remember that play, but PFF has him charted with 2 turnover-worthy plays against the Rams. Against the Packers, he took care of the ball.
Listen,
You know?
yeah, if you want to say like Jalen Hurts has been doing his job, taking care of the ball, playing smart, you're not getting an argument from me.
I think Lamar tried to do too much in that first half.
I think that's fair. And it's a yin and yang, right? Like, to me, it's just I've seen Jalen Hurts play at such a higher level that when he plays like this, it's like you're winning, so I'm not gonna be mad at it. But I'm also not going to go out there and praise you for what you're doing.
I'm fine with this.
Because
I get
you're
it.
a better quarterback than what you've been showing.
And I'm not going to disagree with you. But in the sentiment of he knows how to play a winning game,
No, for sure. Yeah.
Jalen Hurts does it as good as anyone. And I know it sounds like I'm defending someone who is subpar average. Jalen Hurts has shown when you need him to be great, he can be. That 43-yard rushing touchdown, that wasn't manufactured. That was Jalen Hurts being better, evading, getting rid of defenders off of him,
It was
and
one
being
guy,
able to.
But it was a great run.
It was a good run.
Still, you have to break that tackle, and you
not-
still
you
have to
can't
be
get anything
fast
past
enough.
this guy, man.
But it doesn't
No,
matter.
the
to me.
offensive line, Jordan Mailata was running down free because he had no one to block.
He ran 19 miles an hour. There's only been 2 guys that have more 19-mile-an-hour rushes for a guy who's not that fast anymore.
Who are those guys?
It's Jaden Daniels and Kyler Murray.
They have like double the amount.
fire.
Well, Jaden Daniels and Kyler Murray,
That's a good company.
they know how to fucking
Hey,
run
man,
fast.
I'm on your side this week.
Jalen Hurts broke
When
one
it comes
tackle
to
and he shrugged them off.
Rams.
It was
or
great.
not Rams. Fucking
Commanders?
Chiefs.
Jeez.
Oh, I'm taking the Chiefs to win too.
Well, no, I'm rooting for them.
Oh, you
Oh,
make
you're
me
not
sick.
taking them to win either?
No, I'm taking them and I'm rooting for them.
You're taking the Chiefs to win?
Yeah. I mean, it's
Not
Mahomes.
surprised.
It's Mahomes, you know? It's Mahomes.
I just have the easy cop because Lamar, obviously, but the easy cop out just division.
yeah.
So it makes me like so much.
No, I understand you rooting
makes
for the
me want to
Chiefs.
root against them even more.
I understand.
well.
Because now, the thing is, and I think this is where it's getting sad, me personally, this is a guy who's hating from outside the club. It's getting sad that Lamar and Josh fans are fighting, duking it out for number 2.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think if you want to say like individual play, I think both quarterbacks are better than Mahomes. But when it comes to like playoffs and all that shit,
Unless Josh does his thing this week, man, that's my Super Bowl.
There's
pick, man.
no possible way this season Josh Allen can surpass Mahomes. There's actually nothing that Josh can do this season to supersede Mahomes as the best in the league.
Mahomes. Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I say
Very
this
straightforward.
whole season is a fight to the death for second best.
hasn't it always been like that? Not always, but like the last.
Oh, I'm with you.
I tell you when
I'm with
you're,
you.
you know.
4 Super Bowls in 6 years. Yeah.
But it's funny that like
30,
you're
36,
dragging out this
sorry.
Bills rivalry with
36.
because you want Lamar to be better than Josh, which
Easily,
I
easily.
get. But it's funny.